Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we're talking about another oldie, and that is the Tier 10 another Soviet ship as well, Soviet destroyer, the Khabarovsk. Now, Khabarovsk is a paper design. She did not exist in real life, so there's nothing really, real to go over here about the ship other than that she was a design for a destroyer leader. Typically, these destroyer leaderships were normally much larger than normal destroyers. They would be a destroyer leader. So that's what the Khabarovsk is here, and why she is quite large and does have a larger than normal hit pool for a DD, even at tier 10. She's even more well armored than most tier 10 DDs too. Now, the Khabarovsk does have quite the long history in-game, however. She was first introduced all the way back in update 5.0.2. So this is another ship that's been around for 7 years, almost 7 years at this point. I believe that come September, October-ish, I think that's when she'll officially have been in the game for about 7 years. So again, quite an old ship in the game's lifespan. But she was quite the fearsome ship back in the day, the Khabarovsk. I remember playing, because I've been playing for a little, I think either under or a little over 6 years now at this point. I joined in 2016, a year after the game went live. But anyway, I remember playing against this ship, and this being one of the absolute worst ships to run across in a battleship, because it was going to be a very slow, a very painful death for you. There wasn't a whole lot you could really do about it, because the Khabarovsk is the original run and gun DD. This is the ship that, well, we have quite a few variations of today, like with the Kleber and the Marceau, destroyers that are insanely fast and have very, very, very good guns. Well, I was going to say, and rapid-firing guns, although the Kleber doesn't really have that high of a fire rate, nor does the Khabarovsk, but their shell velocities and characteristics more than make up for that. When you have something like the Marceau, which is just a machine gun that can blast around at 40+ knots. But yeah, if you were in a battleship and you ran up against a Khabarovsk, you were going to have a horrible day, because the ship's incredibly fast, and with the engine boost active, the ship starts and stops on a dime, and it's very frustrating to hit, especially if you were someone going through the American battleship tech tree like I was, and having to try and deal with this thing when I was trying to grind my way through my North Carolina with her and definitely lethargic shells compared to the Khabarovsk's shell characteristics and such. But she didn't stay that way. She saw a few nerfs through her life cycle, and we'll talk about that as we go through the ship. And one major nerf that she got hit pretty hard with that kind of kicked her out of her spot, definitely once the Kleber showed up. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the Khabarovsk. Now, this is a ship that you can still get today, like the Kutuzov that we talked about yesterday. She is a coal ship. She is currently available in the armory for 260,000 coal. Now, is she worth that? Well, like I just said, her crown of Queen of Run and Gunning has pretty much been taken over by Kleber. But if you do like the Kleber, you like that type of gameplay style, this is a ship that is very excellent at running and gunning. And even with the nerf that she got, she is still a pretty formidable ship today to play against. But again, we'll get there in her stats. So let's go ahead and take a look at those stats. Well, armor layouts, normally on a DD I would say, yeah, it's 19mm and that's it. But on the Khabarovsk, she actually has some pretty decent armor plates here. You can see just covering the barbettes of her number 1, number 2 turret, she has a 50mm plate. Then she also has a 50mm plate that runs up and down the side of her, what would be her citadel if she had a citadel. DDs don't have citadels. And then she has another 50mm plate over the barbettes of turrets 3 and 4. So you might be looking at that and going, does that mean I can bounce battleship shells? Yes. And you can, and you will, and it's hilarious when it happens, because you can see the confusion on the battleship player's face, because in today's World of Warships, not a lot of people play Khabarovsk, because again, Kleber is pretty much better Khabarovsk today, so a lot of newer players have never seen this ship before, and when they fire at this ship and they're yammy and you're angled properly, and then the Khabarovsk of all things bounces your yammy shells, you can see the confusion on their turrets. Yeah, Khabarovsk players today, if you run across them, they're probably a god in the ship, because that's the only people that really play Khabarovsk today, is people that really, really, really enjoy this ship and probably have thousands and thousands of battles in the Khabarovsk. So yeah, if you see some, well, there's two ways to indicate if they're a good Kaba player. One, if they're playing it, that probably means they're a good Kaba player. But there's another one we're going to get to here in a moment. But yes, she is a DD with actual armor. Now, two, this does mean when you run up against cruisers, there's actually something for the cruisers' guns to bite into, so you are going to eat more pins in those situations where if, let's say, it was another DD and the cruiser shot you with AP, it would probably just overmatch it. So there's that. Hit points with the commander build that I'm running, which I'll throw back up on the screen right here for you. She has 26,000 hit points, which is pretty darn healthy for a tier 10 DD. The artillery, her guns, she has 8 of the Soviet 130mm guns, with, again, the build that I'm running on it, have a reload time of 4.2 seconds. The turret's 180 in 7.8 seconds. They have a maximum dispersion of 116 meters, a maximum range of 13.5 kilometers. That is with the commander skill to increase range. And if you're wondering, hey, that sounds like really short for a DD, especially for a gunboat DD, when you have like the Khabarovsk and the Delhi now, the ship that replaced the Khabarovsk in the tech tree. I'm sorry if I said the Khabarovsk. I meant the Kleber and the Delhi, which have gun ranges in the 15-16 kilometer range, if you really want to build into them. Now, the thing about the Khabarovsk is that range is definitely your strength, and if you've played through the Soviet DD line, you know exactly what I mean. So, these guns, let me get through them real quick, then I'll explain what I mean there. So, the HE has a maximum damage of 1900. They have a 9.5% chance of causing a fire. They can pin 22 millimeters of armor without IFHE, and they have an initial velocity of 900 meters a second. The AP, which, funny enough, is actually SAP. Like, the name of the shell in the game is SAP 46. So, this is also the original SAP boat. Has a maximum damage of 2600 and it comes out the tubes at 900 meters a second. So, as with a lot of Soviet ships, the Soviet DDs have very good velocities on their shells. They also have very good flight characteristics, very flat shell arcs and such. So that means that at range, the Khabarovsk is much, much, much more comfortable landing shots than other DDs are. Now, with how good the AP is on this ship, even against other DDs, you have a very nasty DD to try to deal with at range. And back in the day, when Khabarovsk could get to 15, 16 kilometers or thereabouts with her main battery guns, it was truly terrifying, because at that range, you can easily throttle juke cruisers, battleships, other DDs for sure, with the acceleration and deceleration properties and pure speed that this ship had back in the day, which is what we're getting to here in a moment. So that was her strength, and they bonked it. Her base range got decreased from 13.5 kilometers to, I think, 11.4, 11.3, whereas today, if you take the commander skill, you can only get her out to 13.5 now. And you cannot mount the range module in the last mod slot. You can only mount the reload module. So, yeah, this ship has been hit with the Nerf bat pretty hard, which now means you have to fight a lot of your engagements at your maximum range at tier 10, because once you get in closer with the Khabarovsk, that's when you start running into a lot of issues, because your good acceleration, deceleration that throws many shots off at 14, 15 kilometers, at 12 kilometers in, it don't throw that many shots off, because at around 12 kilometers in, most ships, especially at tier 10, have plenty enough good shell characteristics at that close range, very short flight time, to just bonk you. Now, maybe with some of the American battleships with their super slow shells at higher tier, with the North Carolina with her shell velocities being in the low 700s, and like the American DDs and American cruisers and other cruisers and battleships with similar slow shells. At that range, yeah, you can still dodge them, but it's not like it was beforehand, where you would almost make everyone break their keyboard trying to hit you. So that was a big hit to the Khabarovsk. And also, too, When the new overmatch ratios for battleship AP versus DDs were introduced, the Khabarovsk and the Harugumo both got passed over for that buff to where they don't eat the new ratio, which is the maximum damage an AP, a battleship caliber AP shell overmatching a DD will do, got dropped from I think like 33% down to, was it 10%? So for a very long time, Khabarovsk and Harugumo both got absolutely murdered by battleship AP overmatching them, whereas the other DDs did not. So there's that very long period, and that period lasted for, I think, darn near, I think, a year and a half, if not longer, where you literally took more damage than the Khabarovsk just because it's the Khabarovsk. So, yeah. Now, her other strengths, well, her torpedoes, if you're wondering, she does have torpedoes. They're 6-kilometer torpedoes, so they're not really useful for, aerial denial. They're great if you run into a tight situation, you need a torpedo rush something, but other than that, they're not very useful. It takes 7.2 seconds for those torpedo tubes to rotate. They have a reload time of 127 seconds. They have a maximum damage of 19,500. They travel at 53 knots. And they're detected by 0.6 kilometers, so they are pretty stealthy, but, I mean, at 6 kilometers, unless whatever you're rushing is blind, they know you're coming. Alright, her maneuverability, which, like I've mentioned, is her strong suit. Her maximum speed is 45.2 knots with the speed flag. She has a turning circle radius of 760 meters, which is quite large, and a rudder shift time of 6.7 seconds, which is quite long for a DD, although with the module build I'm running on my Khabarovsk, I do not have the first steering gears mod on. I do have the second one, so that is a rudder shift time that's cut down by 40%. So yeah, you can add 40% to that, which means that this ship has a base rudder shift time of darn near 12 seconds, which is quite bad. Consumable with the build that I'm running on it, it's 9.7 kilometers, and that is without the concealment module, and that is also without the concealment commander skill. My thing in the Khabarovsk is you're going to be firing like 80% of the time anyway, so you're going to be spotted. It's not a DD that takes caps. It's not a DD that is very stealthy. You're going to be firing most of your life in the game. If you're not firing most of your life in the game, then you're playing the Khabarovsk wrong. So that's why the concealment on mine's 9.7. You can build into it. You can get it obviously much lower than that, but that is just what I am running on the ship, and it works for me. Of course, you can build your Khabarovsk however you want to. Now, for her consumables, you get a very nice engine boost that gives you an 8% boost to your ship's maximum speed over 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. And you have your choice of the repair party, which regenerates 156 hit points per second, is active for 28 seconds, reloads 76 seconds, and you get 4 charges of that. You have the incorrect choice, which is the smoke generator, which is active for 20 seconds. It takes 97 seconds to disperse. This is the second way you can tell if you're running against a good Khabarovsk, if they have smoke equipped. Why? This is a run and gun DD. This isn't a smoke farming DD. You're taking a DD that's has exceptional maneuverability, and you're making it sit in a smoke screen. Like, yes, if someone lays smoke for you, then sure, utilize it, but you're also taking away your potential healing capabilities. So, yeah, I don't know. I've seen a couple of smoke cabas. They normally die pretty early on, and that's about par for the course. So yes, take the heal. It's literally a heal on a DD that's pretty hard to hit. Used to be nigh impossible to hit. But, yeah, I don't know. Some people make some choices that I do not agree with. This is one of them. But anyway, you do get damage con on top of that, too. So, altogether, you now have a very maneuverable DD that has a heal, that has actual armor that you can tank cruiser shells in quite easily, and battleship shells if you angle correctly. On the flip side, too, of course, like I said, that does give these shells something to bite into if you aren't watching your angle. But the ship is so fast, and with the speed boost on, you have excellent maneuverability as well in terms of acceleration, deceleration. So it is quite hard to deal with if, again, you're shooting at someone from maximum range, like 13 10-ish, 12-ish kilometers away, and they're trying to hit you, you can be a proper annoyance. It's a great DD for going down a wide open flank where there's lots of room for you to run around, and with the heal, even if you do get hit, quite a bit more now than what you did beforehand before the range nerf, you can of course recover that health as well. And the AP is very good on this thing. It's very, very, very good. This is AP that's capable of citadeling cruisers if they're not watching. Definitely light cruisers, especially from around 10 kilometers in, like the smallest I keep running into here. If I had managed to do this flat broadside, I definitely could have citadeled him. We've done as much on stream with the smallest thing we did to a Wooster, and I think one of the, another one of the Russian ships, the Chappie too, we absolutely obliterated the man's citadel with the Khabarovsk AP. So the AP is very good too, along with the HE. The AP is quite easily capable of penetrating the upper armor belts of battleships when you have their flat broadside, the bow and the stern armors for sure, and like I just mentioned too, cruisers as well, even against other DDs too. That's how good this AP is. If you have their flat broadside, load in the AP and just keep chunking them. And the HE is great for having to burn down any ship that's bow into you or that's too steeply or too well armored for you to chunk with your AP. Just burn them down with the HE, and yeah. Now, at the end of the day, yes, there have simply been better ships added into the game that does what the Kaba does, but simply better. Like I said, the Kleber straight up does what the Kaba does, but better. It gets the French damage saturation gimmick, where it essentially takes half the amount of damage that a normal DD would. That situation. So yeah, if you're looking for a run and gun DD, the Kleber's the way to go. But I wouldn't discount the Khabarovsk either. Would I say it's a very high priority ship to get for coal? Nah, absolutely not. I don't see them removing this ship anytime soon. It's a tech line ship that's been in the game for years, so they don't really have a reason to remove it, and it's not like there's Khabarovsk in every game. So I'd say if like you're interested in it and you've already gotten the coal ships that you want to get, yeah, sure, pick her up. She's a fun boat if you like run and gunning with DDs. A little bit more challenging to play because of the range limitations, but still a boat that can get work done in today's World of Warships. But anyway, guys, my 2 cents on the Khabarovsk. Oh, she's also an excellent Soviet DD commander trainer, of course, because you're going to be putting the same skills on this DD that you would on like your Delny or your Tashkent or whatever. So if you're looking for something like that, yeah, sure, she's great for that too. But anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on the Khabarovsk now fully given out. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're already to 40,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope y'all have a wonderful Thursday. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.